Ho, ho, Merry Christmas. Hey, guys, this is Ed Opperman from the Opperman Report, coming to you from the North Pole. And we are wishing you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from our family to your family. We hope and pray you all have a happy, safe, fun-filled holiday season and a blessed New Year. Ho, ho, ho! Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. Aftershow. I'm your Aftershow host, Ed Opperman, private investigator, digital forensic investigator. The show is brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com and you get a free audio book. You sign up for free. It's free. You get a free copy of Kevin Sullivan's audio book. And then we're also sponsored by truthfunders.com. Go to truthfunders.com. If you want to find a campaign or a project that you want to fund, or two, if you have a project that you want to get funding for. Now, we're on tonight with our guest, Kevin, we call him Kevin Murderbag Sullivan. That's what the M is for, right? Kevin M. Murderbag Sullivan. He's the author of, I'll never let it, you can't live it down after tonight, bro.
Okay. That's okay, man. It produced a book. That's all I care about.
Oh, God bless you, man. Bundy Murders, A Comprehensive History, and Vampire Richard Chase Murders. Now, we've been joined by a couple of callers that are frequent callers who always have good contributions to make, and I'm sure they may have caught some stuff that I didn't catch. So let's start with Josh Brookshire. Josh, you have a question for Kevin?
Yes, I just wanted to start off real quick and say happy late Christmas, Ed. I hope you had a good one, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, my question from Mr. Sullivan, during your research for your book on Theodore Robert Bundy, do you know why exactly he converted to the Church of Latter-day Saints when he moved to Utah, sir?
Yeah, he did that out of convenience. Bundy was a member of the Methodist Church in Tacoma, but he was really an agnostic. I mean, he might have been an atheist, but now, you know, he was a political animal, and he was very sociable, and he would try to garner friends wherever he could find friends. And so, you know, Liz was of the Mormon faith, and he knew a lot of people in there, and he was already going on outings with some church members and things like that. And it was really, in the mind of the church in Utah, the Mormon church, it was a natural process that he might join, and so he did. So they saw it as being natural, but Bundy was an opportunist, and so that's just his way of gaining support wherever he could gain support. And when things were falling apart in his life, he kind of locked into the Mormon church to receive support there. But that support would only go on for a while, because when he got into trouble and things started happening, they started to pull back.
Yeah. Do you know if he was ever officially cast out or excommunicated from them at all, sir?
I don't think so. I think they withdrew their support from him, and I think it was kind of low key. If there's something out there that says there was something, you know, more than that, I didn't search out any papers there. I included this information in the book because I felt like it was pertinent, and it's mentioned in the police reports. But beyond that, no. But who knows? There could have been some kind of official document where they did that. I just don't have any knowledge of it.
Okay, cool. Before I must ask, during your introduction, we were speaking about his murder bag. You know, I don't want to, nail the pun into the ground like Ed's doing. But,
that's okay. It's funny.
I was just joking. Did you ever do the Bundy Mile at FSU at all? Have you ever heard of that, or have you walked it before, sir?
Well, I was all over there. I was all over the campus, and I was at the Chi Omega, and I know Sherrod's was next door. It's gone now. But I'm not familiar so much with the Bundy Mile, but of course, I went down to Dunwoody where he had attacked Cheryl Thomas, which is not that far from any of this. So is that kind of like what we're talking about?
What I refer to is on FSU, they do have this like morbid tradition where they've mapped out his route that night, where he stopped to grab the tree branch, how he walked and all that stuff. I was just wondering if you've ever did it or anything.
No, that would be the college kids. I didn't interview any of those kids, but, no, but, you know, it's in a geographically small area. You know, that's another thing. I mean, I say in the book, you know, he leaves Chi Omega, you know, at 3 a.m. and about 3:14, I guess it is, people are showing up. He's carrying the log. A guy drives by and he sees this guy walking, and you can see that he's trying to conceal something. He's got this log in his hand. So you think if he's in his right mind, oh, I'm not satiated for the night, right? I want to go kill somebody else. Get way out of this area. But he doesn't do that. He walks to Dunwoody, and he attacks Cheryl Thomas in her little duplex. And, I mean, as he's walking there to this place on Dunwoody, he can hear the sirens wailing, you know. And a person in their right mind thinks, wow, I've made my mark for the night. Perhaps it would be better if I'd leave. But, no, he doesn't leave. He stays in this small area and attacks someone else. But it's strange. That's part of his meltdown, too.
Yeah, he had to have been seeing nothing but red at that point. Wasn't it a span of 15 minutes for the 4 attacks in the Chi Omega house, sir?
Yeah, it didn't take long. Again, and he entered in through an unlocked door. They had a sliding glass door which you open by, like a little punch key, a code. But not all the residents would always close it tightly. And, again, Bundy was an opportunist, and so, he found out that, and this is right next door to Sherrod's, and so he goes in there through this way, and when I think Nita Neary came home, he had already done his deeds, and I mean, the style of murder at Chi Omega was unlike anything that he had committed back in the Northwest. It didn't look like the same MO. You wouldn't even put them together. But whatever he did quickly. I mean, if you just think about it, he killed 2 of them, and he broke the jaws and smashed others, and he created quite a bit of havoc in a very, very short time. So you're correct about that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Josh, what do you think? Do you think it's possible for Bundy to get into that sorority and kill almost 4 people and rape all those people in 15 minutes?
Well, from my limited study on this, and Ed, you know me, I'm a true crime maniac. Not literally, but
I know you're a maniac. You're a maniac.
Yeah,
I know that.
Yeah. But
you sound like a normal maniac.
Yeah, I've always felt that behind the veritable mask of sanity of him, with the exception of that one time in the courtroom where he had that outburst where he was screaming, I don't think anyone except for his victims ever saw the real Ted Bundy.
No.
I figure that it's just such a rush of pure adrenaline and anger and malice that would just explode from him, that I could see a guy running through a sorority house. I went to college. I hung out in plenty of frat houses and sorority houses. If you're just storming through there in the middle of the night, and he had practice, if I do remember, his first attributed murders were home invasions and assaults. So he had started out his career basically doing that very thing, and he's a fugitive on the run. He has nothing to lose. And he, one night after being there for a week, he's just like, you know what, screw it, I can't get a job. I got to do what I know best, I guess. That's just my opinion, Ed.
Okay.
Yeah, he couldn't keep it down any longer. When he was in escape mode, he was motivated by other things, but that essence, that desire, that strong craving to kill, would always surface again. And then when it did, it pushed through his personality, and, he was going to go on the hunt for victims. And, it was just a matter of time. And if he would have never been captured, God knows how long he'd be killing. What would he be now? I mean, the guy would, he was never going to stop killing. I mean, that's just my opinion. It just
if anything, if anything, him being pushed into a situation where he couldn't fall back on his reputation, where he only had an assumed identity, is the only thing I believe that caused him to explode, you know, because didn't he tried to get a job as a construction worker, and that didn't last a day. He supposedly tried to walk the beaches, and that didn't work, so he walked around the FSU campus and kept seeing all those girls, you know, so.
Yeah.
He couldn't lay a trap anymore. He couldn't pretend to have a broken arm and things like that, so he just boiled over, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was a different person down there. But, you know, the thing about Bundy, I mean, Bundy didn't like work. He just didn't like it much. I think he liked the political work better, and he would throw himself into that. But when we're just talking about, you know, being part of a job and earning money, he didn't like, he much preferred stealing, and he was very good at it. And, it's just unbelievable,
but
how much he would steal. Yes.
How could he afford a car in an apartment? I mean, wherever he went, he always had that car. He always had a vehicle, and you know, and he always seemed to have an apartment, right?
Well, now he was, he worked back in Washington State. He worked for various places. He works for a lumber mill. He worked for Pedline Medical Services, and he would keep these jobs sometimes for some time. But I don't know how long he worked for Pedline. Yeah,
he had a business where he was a consultant for the police department, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't really. No. What he worked on when he was worked for the Department of Emergency Services, well, at some point, he was doing some studies on some things which had to do with, assaults on women, which you have to look at it from Bundy's perspective. He was doing these things because he wanted to find out about the pursuer, as I say in the book, before he was pursued. So everything he did had an angle to it. And listen, I'll tell you something. He was not stupid when it came to these sorts of things, because Bundy knew that police jurisdictions, they would not always be forthcoming with their information. Even when they're trying to work together, they still wouldn't be forthcoming with various jurisdictions because they were holding things back in their departments. And so he knew that would help him because he was a mobile killer. And, so he tried to play the advantages with everything that he did. But, he had a car, of course, in Utah. And like I say, he would hold jobs. He held some jobs in Utah. Now, in Washington State, even when he was committing murder, he still worked for like the DES, and he worked for some things, and he was rising a little bit, and he had more money. But at the same time, he always looked to women to support him. And his girlfriend, Liz Kendall, always helped him out financially. And when he was dating a lady named Diane Edwards, that's a real name, out of a well-to-do family in San Francisco. I give her a pseudonym in the book, but that's her real name. You know, he was using her credit card. And so he looked to women to help support him, whether he was married to them or not, ways of raising money. But in Florida, he was going to work, but he didn't. He just resorted to that which he knew best and could do best, and that was stealing. And he was very successful at it. He would steal objects. He would steal credit cards. He was just always looking to have some financial gain through the loss of others. So that was his job, quote unquote, in Florida.
He wasn't that big of a guy, right? I mean, he wasn't a muscular guy. I mean, I saw pictures of him.
No, people talk about that, but he wasn't at all.
No, that's what I'm saying. He was thin and he was medium at best.
He wasn't a bodybuilder. Yeah, he wasn't a bodybuilder. People talk about he's able to smash these women in the head with a crowbar. And I always tell them, listen, a 12-year-old boy can do that. A 12-year-old girl can smash somebody in the head with a crowbar and kill.
But I mean, to drag these bodies out and then put them over the shoulder and bring him up the flight of stairs. You know.
Yeah, but also too.
Well, I can tell you.
He worked as a driver and a bodyguard too, so that he had some kind of savvy about him, you know.
Well, as far as the bodies, you know, he might carry them a little bit, but he would ultimately drag. But Bundy never took them that far off of a main route. In other words, he wouldn't drag them back all that far. They were always found close to roads or close to something. I think Laura Ann Amy was found within about 500 yards of a rest stop. I think maybe off of I-80 for coming into Salt Lake City. So he wouldn't go that far with these people, but like I say, he's not going to carry them all the way. He is going to drag them.
I live in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
I live in the state of Florida, and I remember when I was in school when they executed him, it was a big deal down here.
Sure.
It made the news, and all the teachers were talking about it. But I had this one teacher who, I don't know if he was correct. It was weird because, you know, we were kind of young, and he was telling us that he would take the dead bodies or a victim, and he would put makeup on them. Is that true? Was he putting makeup on them and then wearing their makeup on him? Well, and keeping the body for a week and having his way with it for a week?
Well, here's the thing. I say in the book he kicked it up a notch when he was in Utah, and here's what he did. I mentioned, and I really never finished the story, but he kidnapped the daughter of the Midvale chief of police in Utah. Her name was Melissa Smith. And
right.
When she was found, he kept her at 565 First Avenue. I'm sure she was in a coma. But yes, he washed her. He reapplied makeup. When they found her body and the sister identified the body, she said, "That is not my sister's makeup." And her hair had been freshly washed. And so, yes, he was doing things. But keep this in mind. That's in Utah. He admitted to Bill Hagmeyer that he had as many as 4 severed heads in his apartment in Washington State. And he might have applied makeup, but I also believe he used those severed heads for oral sex. And so, because it's always about the sex, sex is always a part of the murder. He loved the necrophilia, so there was that too. But he had as many as 4 heads in his apartment in Washington State, which was, again, a rooming house, a college rooming house. He was at the Rogers rooming house. So, but he would I don't know, I don't believe he applied makeup to himself. I think that would be outside of his MO. But he certainly did that with them, yes.
Yeah, I mean, my gut feeling tells me he had help and that he wasn't alone in doing all this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my gut.
He was alone.
But, I mean, to be able to escape from 2 separate jails, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Kevin, tell us about the escapes, man. How did he pull that off?
Well, here's the thing. Listen, this is the thing about the people in these jails. When he was first transferred there, he was transferred by Mike Fisher, Deputy Rick Kralik, and they came and they came and got him at like 2 a.m. in the cold early hours of the morning from Point of the Mountain Prison in Utah, and they drove him all night and they took him to Colorado, and he was placed in the Aspen jail. That's where he went first. Now, Mike Fisher, Colorado investigator, warned them over and over and over again that this guy was a brutal killer of women. He's on trial. He'll be on trial here for the killing of Karen Campbell, but he's killed a lot more than just, one person. Jerry Thompson warned them, you cannot turn your back on this guy. He's smarter than you think. You can't do this. They got to know Ted. Ted turned on the charm, and they started to feel real comfortable with him. He's just a nice guy. He's going to be going to trial, and so he escapes, but they recapture him. Now, when he gets into another jail, here's what the inmates keep saying.
Yeah.
They keep telling them, look, Bundy is getting up. There was a fairly large light fixture that it was supposed to be welded, but it hadn't been. So why would you put an accused killer of women in a cell that, he could get up above this light fixture and maybe make his way up, through like the rafters or whatever. And
but
so
Kevin,
they said,
wait, he also got a hacksaw blade in there somehow.
well, he didn't need okay,
That's
I
what I'm
can't
saying.
remember about that, but here's the thing, that thing was not working right. But here's the deal. This is why they're so culpable. The jailers, they said, listen, Bundy's crawling up above us at night.
Yeah.
He's leaving his cell and he's crawling above us and we can hear him. They did nothing. And so when he get out, but Bundy, listen, he never had any help from anybody in as much as there was nobody aiding it. The only help that I know that he received is that people that believed he was innocent would send him money as a part of his defense fund.
Okay.
But outside of that, I found anything that he was a solitary predator, and he didn't want anybody involved. The murder just between him and them, and so he really did keep this as a secret. He didn't want anybody to know. But the defense fund, he would get that money that very much aided him in his escape the second time to getting way away. He was able to buy a plane ticket. So I mean, it makes a difference having the money. But outside of that, I couldn't find anything in the record where he got any help at all. Listen, he wasn't the typical car thief either. He couldn't hotwire a car. He had to find a car with either the keys dangling in the ignition or maybe put above the visor or maybe in the ashtray. That's the only way this guy could steal a car. But he just was always doing it.
Okay, but the question wherever he lived and went, he always had a vehicle and he always had an apartment, correct? He was never homeless.
No, he didn't have, he always managed to live somewhere. But
that's what I'm saying. That takes money to be able to afford a car, insurance.
Yeah, but Mike, back then it was easier back in those days. You didn't have to have insurance back in those days either, by the way. It wasn't law.
Yeah, that's the thing. He didn't have any car in Florida. He just barely had enough money to start renting a room, at, close to Florida, say, but he did have a car, of course. But again, he was receiving help from his girlfriend, Liz Kendall. He was also stealing, and occasionally he would work. So he did have enough, but very often he was without money. In other words, and I say this in the book, he was charging gas. He was burning that gas up far faster than he could pay for it. He was racking up, quite a bill with Standard Oil. So, he just, and again, like I say, when he would steal credit cards, he'd fill up, he'd do whatever, he'd eat meals on it. So he was very, you might want to say industrious in his thievery, and he kept himself fed. But he had no car in Florida, and, of course, that was towards the end.
Mr. Sullivan, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Going back to not the question of whether or not he had help with the murders themselves, because I think, judging by it, there's no way that this type of psychopath would let anyone in on it. With the jail thing, I think there was I forget where I read it from, but he at first was sort of welcomed with a little bit of like fanfare. Maybe after he was captured the second time, the first time he was recaptured. I think maybe he had a fanfare. Plus, it's a prison. It's not that hard to like get someone to pass you like a hacksaw. That being said, that's just prelude. This is a question that I'm surprised Ed didn't bring up in the main show is, what's your take on his psychological profile description of Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, the Riverman? Mm-hmm. Do you think maybe he was projecting his own pathology onto the rather simple kind of stupid Gary Ridgway, or do you think that maybe he had insight? I could see perhaps the two of them running into each other perhaps in the late 70s, but I don't think there could be any collision because their MOs are vastly different. I was just wondering what your thoughts on that are, sir.
Yeah, I think he had insight into how people like him are. Now, these people that do these things, they have, there are so many similar things when they kill like this. They like possessing their victims. They like being the one that snuffs the life out of them. And Bundy knew what was driving the Green River Killer. I mean, so there's things he could identify with, but I'll tell you something else too. He enjoyed seeing the cases. He enjoyed seeing, because Keppel's talked about this. Yeah, the pictures and stuff like that. Yeah. But also, there's also the thing to where Bundy, he used to like to toy with authorities. I mean, Bundy wasn't stupid, and he knew he called Keppel.
He trying to use that to buy him extra time, though, from death row, as a way to, like, get stays in his execution date?
Well, the only thing that was, no, not really. I'll tell you where Bundy was stupid. I'm always saying he's not stupid, but he was stupid in one area. The state of Florida had offered him like 2 or 3 life sentences if he would just admit to the Chi Omega murders and the killing of 12-year-old Kim Leach. Everybody wanted him to take this deal. His court-appointed attorney wanted him to. A big attorney that was helping them down there with Bundy wanted him to. His attorney in Washington State, Brown, wanted him to. They said, if you don't do this, Florida's going to take your life. He reluctantly agreed to it, but then he backed out of it. So the trials in Florida went forward. Then they go south. Now, then Bundy is on death row. Now, when Bundy could see that things were turning and he was losing one appeal after another, it's at that point he started to make some very clear first-person confessions to try to delay his waltz into the electric chair. But at that point, he got into a real bargaining stage. What makes him so stupid is if he would have just done what his attorneys told him to do, he'd be sitting, unless he would have died of natural causes by now, but I doubt if he would have. He would be in Florida today, in prison for life, breathing, watching TV, whatever. But,
Yeah,
but
maybe escaping, right?
No, I think the Keppel thing was, it's not just he wanted to help with that. I think it was impure motives. I think he wanted the interaction with Keppel, because in Washington State, Keppel had hunted him, even though he didn't know who he was. I think he wanted to see the files. I think he was interested. I just think he wanted to be a part of it, but I don't think at that point he believed it would be a bargaining chip to help.
Man, I appreciate the insight. I'm doing my own research into Ted Bundy, like on the methodology of like his particular form of psychopathy. I'll get your book, and I want to hear about Richard Chase, because I've got some stuff on the Vampire of Sacramento. So
okay,
that's
good.
Cool. That's cool.
They're rolling.
We got a break right now. We're going to take a little commercial break. We'll be right back with Kevin Murderbag Sullivan, Josh Brookshire, Mike Gray from InfinityHomePlans.com. Christian Wallace has joined us too from Infor Nation. He has his own radio show, and Josh is from Bookhouse. What's the name of your band, Josh?
Our band's called Bookhouse. Our website is bookhouse.bandcamp.com.
Okay, great. Now we're going to take a little break here, 5 minutes. We'll be right back after this with more of Kevin Murderbag Sullivan.
Murderbag.
That's right, man. I love
the inspiration for Newman on Seinfeld.
Kevin M. Sullivan, man.
There you go.
And then you can come up on Amazon. I got all his books, the links to his books on the Opera Report blog, so you can go there and find it. But we'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
No.
You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
If you're looking for essential oils, stop by and check out Essentially Tammy on Facebook. She is Young Living Essential Oils independent distributor. These 100% therapeutic grade oils help support the body's natural functions. You can click on her website posted on Essentially Tammy, that's T-A-M-I, to see the current deals and check out the benefits of oils such as frankincense, joy, valor, lemon, thieves, panaway, and many more. Email Jocko-Tammy, that's Jocatami @yahoo.com, or call 352-239-8546. That's 352-239-8546. Hey, don't forget good old Amanda at Pacific West Bamboo. Pacific West Bamboo, 503-839-8126. You can reach her at demroots@oppermail.com. Pacific West Bamboo, your number one source for timber, construction, and craft-grade bamboo poles, plants, products, and more. They specialize in eco-friendly reclaimed wood products for the home and garden. They're located in Portland, Oregon, servicing the Northwest for over 10 years. They can be reached at 503-839-8126. That's 503-839-8126. Her Facebook page is Pacific West Bamboo. They can and do ship nationwide, and they're currently getting a new line of bamboo flooring, veneers, and laminates made from Guadawa bamboo, one of the world's strongest bamboos, grown and produced and manufactured in Central America using only economically and environmentally friendly practices and standards. Good old Mike Gray at infinityhomeplans.com. Check out Infinity Home Plans and Design Services, your resource for 3D and 2D draftsman services. They offer a multitude of products, including stock home plans, 2D digital drawings, 3D models, renderings, and more. That's infinityhomeplans.com. Hey, don't forget emailrevealer.com. That's my website, emailrevealer.com. And we offer all different kinds of services. Current place of employment locate. Let's say you're trying to locate where your ex-husband or your ex-wife is working so you can collect on child support. You contact us, we can locate their place of employment for you and help you collect on that child support. Let's say you think that your husband or your wife is cheating on you. Give us their email address and we can trace it back to online dating websites and dating services. So we have a multitude of services on emailrevealer.com. Hey, don't forget the New World Mexican Women. Okay, and you just Google New World Mexican Women. You can find their book where they first describe their love letters to their men and their sons and their uncles and their brothers who have traveled from South America to North America to work as migrant workers. But the women down in this town there in Guerrero, Mexico, they want their men to come back. So they've written these beautiful love letters, and they've put them all in this beautiful coffee table book. First, the letters are written in Spanish, handwritten. You can see pictures of the people writing the books. And then it comes on after that, and it's typewritten in English. And then also, too, the second half of the book is teaching you how to make authentic Mexican jewelry from these New World Mexican women. You can find their book on Lulu.com. It's only $19, or you can download the digital edition for free. That's New World Mexican Women, and it's a two-part book, where first part is the love letters, and the second part is the making the handmade jewelry, the authentic Mexican jewelry. But you can also contact them, too, as well, if you want to get a deal on wholesale jewelry from Mexico, from these women.
Welcome back to the Opperman Report After Show. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. The show's brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/Opperman Report. Go to audibletrial.com/Opperman Report. You go there, you sign up for free, you get a free audio book. Our guest tonight, Mr. Murderbag Sullivan, he has, I call you Mr., right? He's got
Hey, at least you said Mister.
Yeah, he's got an audio book on there, man. You get it for free. You get it for free. And we both get paid. And then we're also sponsored by truthfunders.com. Okay, it's a big deal. I really want to support these guys and get this thing up on the road, and get our stuff supported. Okay.
Yes.
We're here with Kevin M. Sullivan, author of the Bundy book and the Richard Chase book. We got Josh Brookshire, We got Michael Gray from InfinityHomePlans.com. We got Christian Wallace from Infornation. Josh, you got any gigs coming up right now?
Not until January, and the details are still fuzzy on that, but we're recording a new record. We've got a new, really long player, an old LP as they used to call it, called Bubbling Crude, coming out in 2015.
Ah, very cool. Okay, yeah, we were just watching a Beverly Hillbillies marathon the other day. Now, Josh,
that's exactly where I got it from. I love that phrase, bubbling crude. It's so
do that guy Max Baer too, man. He was a real character, man. That's a whole story. We got a couple of shows in him as well. But Josh, tell us about your show coming up. You got a show coming up on CJ Mars. You're going to be doing?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a podcast show called In the Raw Radio, and I'll be doing interviews, and it's a pre-recorded show. I'll be doing interviews with local musicians, artists, craftspeople, business owners, following true crime stories in the media, but also touching into a lot on the creative and magical side, the esoteric view of life. And I hope that we can build together and do some great things. 2015 is going to be a great year. Thank you, Ed.
Very cool. Thank you, brother. Thank you for calling it. And we got Christian Wallace has joined us too as well. Do you have any, Christian, you got any questions you have for our guest, Kevin Sullivan?
Oh, yeah. I'll just say that remember the day, because here in Florida it was a big deal when Ted Bundy was finally, put to death. And, people had signs and everything. And I think he really touched the nerve with people, and he scared people. I think they made a documentary it wasn't a documentary, it was a movie of the week with Mark Harmon played him.
Yeah.
And they were trying to act like, he was this handsome, guy. He was a Republican, and he was a member of a lodge up in he was a Freemason.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah, connected with where was he coming out of? Portland? But he drove all the way down to Florida to be a part of I'm forgetting now whose campaign, but he joined the Mormon Church during the middle of the time period when he was during his murder spree. Mm-hmm. Did you guys touch on any of that?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I had just mentioned that Bundy was kind of an opportunist, and he kind of attached himself to the church while he was there, for reasons to get support, because a lot of stuff was coming down on him. But originally he belonged with his family to a Methodist church in Tacoma, but he was either agnostic or atheist. And so whatever he did, it wasn't a quote real conversion.
Sure.
He just did it for his own, his own reasons. Personally.
One more thing about Bundy. Is it true? Did he get married or have a girlfriend towards the end?
Yeah, he had a girlfriend for 6 years named Liz Kendall. Now he had a number of girlfriends.
But is it true that he somehow snuck out sperm?
He did marry Carol Boone. Actually, there's talk about that. They don't know if a guard was paid to look the other way, and they had their own little conjugal visit somewhere in the prison.
That's what I'm saying. How did this guy get away with so much? I mean,
you can get just about whatever you want in prison. I mean, Bundy had no trouble getting alcohol or drugs. Well, actually, he got stuff even there too. So, and I don't delve into that much, but because it just it's not pertinent to the case. But
right.
I don't think he snuck any sperm out. I think he probably.
But she did get pregnant. They think it's her child.
And yeah. He does have a daughter.
Wow.
And she must be in her. I don't know. She's maybe 30s now. I'm not sure.
The bloodline must continue. Huh?
Yeah, right.
Well, I tell you, he's got siblings. I mean, all these.
Well, not siblings. I mean, from his loins.
Well, that's true, but I'm just saying that they came from his mother, so they're half. Hey, listen, I just want to throw this out there that y'all were talking about the supernatural. Ed, I hope you're sitting down.
Yeah.
But not just murder bag Sullivan. I'm also an ordained minister.
Oh, really?
I am, and I write true crime, and I write, and I was actually ordained 30 years ago. So I've had a lot of dealings with also the supernatural. That's why I mentioned to you that besides true crime and history, there's also that. So that's an interesting aspect of it. And if you all are interested, I was on a podcast. I don't normally do podcasts or radio shows having to do with the supernatural. But I did one, on the Generation Y podcast. It's called Christianity and the Supernatural. If anyone wants to listen to it, they can. Also have been on a couple times with him on Ted Bundy, and then once I debated the guy on the death penalty. But anyway, I thought I'd throw the minister thing into the mix, kind of offset the murder bag end of it.
Well,
anyway.
Kevin. Okay. Well, Kevin, I was an evangelist with a tent ministry. I traveled and lived with a tent ministry, a full gospel tent ministry.
Really?
Reverend R.J. Knight.
No kidding.
Yeah, up in Maine. I lived and traveled with that ministry for years. I'm saved, born again, and
good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the world of the supernatural is the world of the supernatural is real. And if you all ever listen to that podcast at the Generation Y podcast of Christianity and the supernatural, you can certainly see where I'm coming from. I've had a lot of experiences with the supernatural, but again, that's a part of my life. And then I've got this other part of my life as a writer. So I like to say I have the best of both worlds.
Well, tell us then again, because I know you have a really interesting story about this guy, Richard Chase.
Richard Chase, yeah.
Yes.
And when you went up there, go ahead, tell that.
Yeah. Okay, we took an Amtrak train to Sacramento, and we got in about. The train was late. There had been a fire in Hastings, Nebraska, and put us back about 6 hours. So I missed a meeting. I was going to meet with some people earlier in the evening. So we got there about like 9:30 at night. So from the Amtrak station, it took about 3 minutes to get to 3 or 4 minutes to get to our hotel. So my wife, she goes in. Okay, I'm tipping a taxi driver, and he's laid the suitcases out. My wife has gone in. I said, honey, go ahead and go in and just wait for me at the front desk. So I see this guy coming to me. I swear to God, this was so odd. This guy starts walking up to me, and, the parking lot is illuminated, with the lights, but the closer he gets to me, I said, wait, this is kind of strange. This guy walks up to me. If God is my witness, he was the spitting image of Richard Chase. His hair was cut the same. His face looked the same. Now, I don't know what Chase sounded like, but this guy looked like a doppelganger of Chase. And so what does he do? He tries to bum a cigarette. I thought he was going to ask me for some money. He doesn't. He asked for a cigarette. I said, I'm sorry, I don't smoke. I don't have any. He turns around. He walks about 15 feet. His back is to me. And his body movement starts moving oddly. And he lets out a strange howl. And I thought, well, that's strange. Here I am just starting off my research here in the city of Sacramento about Richard Chase, and I have this weird experience. So it was interesting. So, yeah, it's odd. I can't answer for it. Let's just put it that way. It's just different.
Well, things like that often happen when you embark on, studies on very serious subjects. I mean, life has a way of, putting knowledge, in you in a real way. But then again, Richard Chase is not a very pleasant-looking individual, and I'm sure there's many derelicts, man, that look like, continue, brother.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of derelicts, but this guy just really looked like the spitting image of him. That's what made it so weird. Do I think it was an apparition? No. Do I think it was exceedingly weird? Yes. Can I explain it? No. But it was just real different, and that was just my welcoming into the city of Sacramento, as it were. So it's just kind of a weird thing.
So is Chase alive or dead right now?
Oh,
he's dead.
Oh,
he's
sorry.
dead.
Sorry.
Yeah. He.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan, man. I'm gonna mute up. Sorry, brother.
Hey, listen, jump right in there, man.
Yeah.
He's dead. Now, I spoke to the county attorney about it, or the district attorney about it, and some people think he committed suicide, but a lot of people don't think so. I don't think so either. After Chase, the thing about Chase, these murders, which we can get into, they're very diabolical. And unlike Theodore Bundy, Chase really did have issues, real deep mental illness, in as much as I had mentioned before, he believed his blood was turning to powder. Somebody had stolen a pulmonary artery out of him, and he had all these, he would wrap his head with a towel with oranges and stand on his head. Oh, excuse me. He would do all these things. So you look at a guy like this, he's crazy, right? He's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, he may be crazy, quote unquote, but he wasn't legally insane. In other words, he understood that when he was committing murder, first of all, he planned murder. He knew enough to attempt to avoid detection. He knew what he was doing was wrong according to society. And so he was not, and they made a good case against him, that he was not, he may be deeply mentally ill, but he is not legally insane. So Chase ends up, on death row, and the district attorney said he was cheeking his meds, and I kind of looked at him. I kind of understood what he meant. He said, look, he was not taking his medications. He was acting like he was doing them, taking them. And so the person administering this stuff to Chase, and it might have been different people every day, they weren't really checking him. And what he did was he saved up a lot of pills and took them at one time. Now, most people would think he killed himself. But the district attorney doesn't think so, and really I don't think so. I think Chase was so mentally ill, he believed that if he could save up all this, this is just our theory, save up all this stuff and take it at one time, he could really knock out whatever was wrong with him.
Right.
And of course he killed himself. I mean, we can't know this for sure, but this certainly makes sense because he never made any attempt to kill himself, when he was on the outside. So, anyway, but yeah, he is dead.
Well, describe Chase and his crime spree and the stuff with this guy's, as a minister, right? Because
yes,
there's something with the blood, with these evil people and blood. Okay, what's going on with that?
Well, this thing about evil people. I mean, some people don't even think evil exists in the world.
Right.
I say, we don't have to get into this aspect of it because I never talk about it in my true crime books. But we live in a physical world, but inside of each of us I believe is a spirit which is eternal. If you're born again, then you know some things that people that aren't born again don't, right. And you're going somewhere. But in the realm of the spirit, we all have spirits, whether we're born again or not. And then in the realm of the spirit, you have the angelic and the demonic. And believe me, the angelic will work for people, but the demonic is always trying to influence people. And when I see people that are running on what I call pure evil, usually they are generated. In fact, really in all cases, in my thinking, they're generated by these things. And, but even in the midst of that, they'll attach certain things to the blood. It's like Bundy he enjoyed the moments right after death of when he had killed a woman, and he used to love watching the blue come into the fingernails. And, after all her cells came to a standstill, and that freshly dead thing. I mean, these are very strange things. I mean, when somebody confesses to this kind of stuff, there's probably only there's a small portion of the planet that can even identify with it.
Right.
So they get to a place where they are just so exceedingly different than the rest of us. And they may be different. Bundy certainly was just far different from Richard Chase. But they all have their things about it. In Chase's case, he began by, really believing this need existed, that he had to replenish his blood. And he would in and out of mental institutions, and they would find him sometimes out in the yard, and he was in the bushes, and he had feathers and blood all over him where he killed birds and sucked the blood out of the birds, and So, Chase couldn't conceal his downfall. People would, he was ostracized because he smelled bad. He did weird things. He could never get close to somebody and lure them in as, say, a Ted Bundy could. But, he was just real different, and he ran on this. And so in his case, blood made a big deal to him. It in his mind, it meant everything. Now, his first kill, when he finally got up to the place where he was going to murder, his murder was just a drive-by shooting.
Right.
He had purchased a .22 pistol, I can't remember the make, but it was like in the form of a Luger, like a German Luger. And there was a guy named Ambrose Griffin, and he had gone, he was like an engineer, just a normal guy. And I think he was in his 40s. I'd have to go back and check my book. And this guy was unloading groceries with his wife. His wife had gone inside. And Chase goes by his house and fires a couple times, and one of the bullets hits him, and he collapses, and he soon expires from this. And one of the detectives that I got to know well, Bill Roberts, he said, this sort of thing doesn't happen in Sacramento. And it's a motiveless crime. They're working this crime. They're trying to find out what's going on. But there was no contact with the victim. There was nothing, quote unquote, diabolical about it. It's simply, the police even thought that maybe it was some kid just shooting at stop signs or something and just accidentally killed this man. But later, when Chase would commit these horrendous murders, and he had killed these people with the same pistol, then they connected him with Ambrose, Griffin.
Well,
but again,
what do you think about the theory that there's a theory that because he was impotent, he did have that problem. Yes, right. That was his motivation, because he thought that drinking blood and absorbing blood through his body, animal blood, and one time he killed a cow and he covered himself in blood, that he thought that this cures impotency.
Listen, that's a good question. I don't know, but listen, he was never impotent.
Oh, really?
Wait. When he was with a corpse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had no trouble then.
Really?
He was only impotent. Yeah, because they found, he was able to complete the sexual act in like this one, I guess it would be Teresa Wallen. They found his semen, a lot of it, up inside her. But he could never sustain that with a girlfriend. And I know he dated in high school. I guess, he might have already graduated. I think he was 18. This one girl. And she liked him. And she tolerated that for a while. But then she got to the place that she couldn't. So you could tell, that had a real negative effect on him when she left. So he had problems. Right. But when it came to a corpse, he was fine.
He was good to go.
He was good to go with it. Yeah.
That is. Mike Ray would think that's funny, okay, but it's just amazing. It's just fascinating. Yeah. But listen, we're coming to the end of the hour, and we're going to be dropping some stations, okay? The whole Awake group of stations is going to be dropping off, but we're still going to be on CJMarsRadio.com for at least another hour, as long as we can. But I just want to thank Patty Walking Turtle, who's been producing us tonight from TCT Radio. And her show is on Saturdays. It's called Where the Wild Things Grow, 3 p.m. Central Time, and the Turtle Talk on Mondays at 5 p.m. Central Time on Awake, the whole Awake Radio Network and stuff like that. Hey, but Patty, real quick before we go, do you have any guests coming up you want to promote and tell us about? Patty? 1 minute. She's listening.
Sorry, guys. Yes. Barbara Three Crow will be joining me Monday on Turtle Talk. Really good show. She will be talking a lot about metaphysical and things like this, prophecy from the American Indian culture. And hope to see you there. Thanks.
Patty, thank you so much for helping us out tonight, okay? So we're going to take a little 5-minute break. We'll be back with Kevin Sullivan, Josh Brookshire, Mike Gray from InfinityHomeplans.com. And Christian Wallace from Infornation. So we'll take a nice little 5-minute break here, and we'll be back on cjmarsradio.com. I don't know about Wolf Spirit, and I don't know if they're going to be on or not, but I'm here if they are. Okay, and all this will be on the Opperman Report YouTube channel and on Spreaker.com and iHeartRadio.com, so you can find us. Just open up your window, you can hear us talking. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Okay, and now we'll be right back after this 5-minute break. Welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator at Opperman. Show's brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/Opperman Report, and also truthfunders.com. Check them out, truthfunders.com. Get on there and sign up. Go to the Facebook page and hit them a little like there. And boy, last week's show had so much response. The show we did about Columbine, which is kind of sort of along the same kind of theme we're on here tonight. Show got so much, but I think tonight's show is going to even get more response. But go to the Opperman Report Spreaker YouTube channel and check out the show from last week on Columbine. It's really, there's a lot of buzz going on YouTube, so check that out. But tonight we're with Kevin Sullivan. We have Josh Brookshire from Bookhouse Entertainment, and Mike Gray from InfinityHomeplans.com, and Christian Wallace from Infotainment. And we were just getting into this stuff about Richard Chase, the vampire up in Sacramento. Mm-hmm. Now, off the air, we were talking about the situation about how he was on the side of the road. He had just killed a cow and he was covered in blood.
Yeah, he was, that might be pertaining to, I don't know if that's where he killed the cow, but he was spotted when he was at Pyramid Lake, Nevada. They spotted him about a half mile away. They were looking at him through, the cops were through some field glasses, and they saw this naked guy sitting on a rock or something. And he was, when they got to him, he tried to leave, he tried to take off, but they got to him, and he was covered in blood, naked and covered in blood. His dog was missing. I think he had killed his dog. And he had mentioned that he had killed the cow. I think he had killed the cow earlier, so I'm not sure if this was the dog's blood or what. I don't know. But when they checked his car out, there was blood in his car. There was a liver in his car. Yeah. And but it wasn't a human liver. And he had a couple rifles with him. And
what year was that?
And, I think he had a 30-30, and so I think they impounded his car, confiscated his weapons. He got his car back. I'm not sure if he got the guns back, but I mean, he would smear himself in blood. He was just really out there.
What, did he get the liver back too?
I don't know if he got the liver back. If I were a betting person, I would say no.
What year was that happened?
I think. Well, he did his killing, I think, in 78. This might have been, this might have been 77. It could even be 76. I'd have to go back and check my book. But that was at Pyramid Lake, and he had left Sacramento for a while. And, he's solitary. He's just strange. And, he killed his cat. He killed his mother's cat once. He was trying to knock on her door. She didn't want to let him in. She hears a gunshot. Okay, she opens the door. That probably was a mistake. She opens the door, and he's standing there, holding her dead cat in his hand, and he's smearing the blood on the back of his neck. So, and so I think she tells her ex-husband about the incident, but she fails to tell him about him smearing this blood all over him. I don't know how much the communication the two exes had with each other, but listen, he came from a really dysfunctional family anyway, so it was just kind of like a zoo in their family. But
How would you like to be his mom?
Well, she had her issues. If you read my book, everything came out of the files of the Sacramento district attorney's office. She had plenty of issues, and I don't think Mr. Chase wanted that divorce, but it may be that it was just too much to live with her. And it looks to me that some of which troubled his mother, although she was never violent. It wasn't a case like that, but some of the strange thinking transferred to her son. And, of course, he bubbled up into his own person. But let's just say there were problems with her. There were problems with him. I guess the sister.
Well, wait a second. What was the mother's strange
fairly
thinking?
Normally.
What was the mother's strange thinking?
Well, for example, she felt like her husband. Okay, they went on a camping trip one time, and she said, you just got. It was out in the middle of nowhere. They just went on vacation, probably 100, 200 miles away from Sacramento. She said, "I know you have a woman in the woods. I know you do." This is to her husband, and she was always, saying to him, "I know you're cheating on me." But you wouldn't say that on a camping trip with somebody and declare that your husband's out in the woods. Strange things. And she would just say things. And apparently, as I recall, she had a problem with alcohol. And anyway, I think the essence of it that I got from it was that, he reached a point, it was just impossible to stay a part of that marriage again. Not that Mr. Chase, he had his own things to deal with, his own mistakes, but let's just say that I didn't see the kind of weirdness in him that I saw in her. Now, I don't know anything about, much about Chase's sister. Probably a very normal girl, and but I never talked to her. But in the reports, there's a lot of just real odd stuff about the mom. So, you just kind of draw a conclusion. It's not quite like mother like son, because his mother never went out and did anything really strange. But there were just odd qualities there that ended up, and there were odd qualities in Richard, and then there was a blooming in Richard into something quite diabolical. You gotta remember, there was a point in Chase's life where he was strange, but he wasn't a killer. But he was strange. Very, very sick individual. But then there was that passing over from just that. You have to remember, there's a lot of paranoid schizophrenics. I mean, I had a brother that way who lost his mind in the 60s through, hallucinogenic drugs. But he went from not being a paranoid schizophrenic to being one, and he never came back from that. But he wasn't violent, and most mentally ill people don't go out and do these things. So while Chase had very deep issues at one point, at some point he passed from that into this very diabolical killer, and that makes him rather unique. Because most people with those kinds of,
Well, for people who aren't familiar with Chase, why don't you describe some of these crimes, which, he would go into these homes and piss in the kids' room and
yes, I will.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Right. Yeah, okay. Well, as I said, the first killing, the killing of Ambrose Griffin was just merely a drive-by shooting. But he killed there was a place that he would go to. He even though he had a car, he would walk to certain things. It was close. There's a store called the Pantry Market, and it's in a suburban area, and right behind the Pantry Market is Tioga Way, and there are houses that run along it. And Richard Chase had run into somebody that he knew from school, and she took one look at him, and all she wanted to do is get away from this guy. He had encrusted stuff all over his mouth. His clothes were dirty, and so he was trying to have a conversation with this girl. She went into the store. He followed her in. She leaves. He said, "Hey, wait a minute!" And she's pulling away real fast in her car, and he tries to grab hold of the handle, and he doesn't make any contact with her car. She drives off. But it's a good thing she saw him. Because when Chase left there, he went behind the Pantry Market, and he went down and crossed over to Tioga Way, went past the corner house and walked down. And just by chance, he walked into the house of Teresa Wallen. And Teresa Wallen was a state worker, and she was married, she'd been married I guess a few years, and they were happy, and she was pregnant, and she wasn't really showing yet. I don't think her belly was really that big. I don't know if you would have looked at her and known that she was pregnant, but she was home that day. She had a day off, and she was doing housework, and her door was unlocked, and she was getting ready to carry out some garbage. And for some reason, Chase just came through the door, and as soon as he did, he aimed that .22 caliber pistol at her and started firing. And she has some defensive wounds. I think one of the bullets passed through her hand. It's in the book. One of them grazed her head, and then one of them went into her head, and no doubt killed her immediately. Well, her death wasn't going to be an Ambrose Griffin death. He pulled her into the back room, and he got a knife, and he started cutting her and disemboweling her. And he also, I guess before he did this, he had sex with her. And he also drank her blood. And when the investigators arrived on the scene, just think her husband had to come home and he was greeted with this, later that evening. But there's a picture of a yogurt cup. And Chase had taken a small pail and was trying to gather the blood into this pail or something, and he would take the cup and he would dip it in, I guess, to the pail, and he drank out of that cup. So he drank her blood, and he disemboweled her. He was doing kind of like Jack the Ripper kind of stuff with this girl, and then he made his way out of there. And so again, he's replenishing that blood, and you got to remember his crime spree was really very short. He killed everybody. Teresa Wallen, and the next house he hit, where he killed, 4 people maybe. That was all within a span of about a week. But it was always the women that he would butcher, and her husband. David Wallen comes home, finds her, and then a call goes out to the cops. The cops come on the scene. Now these are hardened investigators, and they take one look at this, and they know this is different. This is a different kind of murder. And they see the cup, and they see this blood, and they see this woman disemboweled, and they think, well, there's a problem. We have a problem on our hands. And Bill Roberts, who I got to know, I think he said that Ray Biondi, who was the head of the homicide there, he said, well, we got to catch this son of a bitch before he kills again. And of course they didn't. It would be a little while before they caught him. But it was a gruesome scene. And of course, anytime going in and investigate the case, I'm sorry.
Was that in the middle of the day with the gunshots and all that?
Yeah. And in fact, yeah.
How come nobody heard 3 shots?
Somebody said that they thought they had heard it, but you remember, I think he shut the door behind him, and they were 22s. Therefore, they weren't going to be as loud. It's not like a Magnum going on.
Yeah.
So people would. I think somebody might have heard those, but they must have been really muffled. They weren't quite sure. And if you look at your window and you don't see anything weird, you just more than likely just forget it. But so yeah, it was still daylight. Now when David Wallen got home, it was dark, and they knew they had some real problems in the city because they weren't used to seeing murders like this. This is far different. This isn't some kind of robbery. This isn't even a rape and a murder. This is something way beyond that, and for the investigators, it became really, literally a race against time. It was 24/7 trying to find out who did this. It meant a lot of legwork, and they didn't immediately bring the two things together with the Griffin thing. But then with this girl being killed with a .22 and Griffin being killed, but you could see they're two totally different types of murders. And then the next murder where he killed his next grouping of people, where he killed a woman and her son and the baby, I guess it was her nephew that she was watching, and a guy that liked her who was over at his house. Chase he wiped out all of them with this same .22. But with the woman, after I guess having sex with her, again, he had no trouble sustaining an erection and having an orgasm with a dead body. He cut her up, and he did some really, really strange things. Like, for instance, I don't know how this happened, but the Teresa Wallen picture is out on the internet. I don't know how that got out. The district attorney told me, he said, we will not release these death pictures to you. I said, I don't want them, but I would like to see them because every time I do a case, I want to see what the detective saw. He said, no problem with that. But with this other lady, that was murdered in the second house where these 4 people were killed. And in fact, Chase even took the baby with him back to his apartment. Yeah, but listen, this is so horrible. This other lady, he had also disemboweled her, but he had done something strange with her eye. He had taken the eye and cut it out and pulled it out, and it looks in the picture like it's almost like there's a wire sticking out of her eye, and then there's just the eyeball. It's the kind of thing that you think, oh, he's setting a stage to create shock in the investigators when they get there. But in Chase's case, I don't think that was the case at all. Whatever he was doing, whatever diabolical evil stream that he was flowing in, that's what he wanted to do. But it wasn't a case like if you've ever heard of the Gainesville Ripper, when he cut a woman's head off in Florida, when he was killing those students down there, he propped the Gainesville Ripper, and he wasn't like Chase. He was more like a Bundy kind of guy. He wasn't mentally ill, just a psychopath. He propped this headless body on the bed and put the head on the mantle. So that guy was setting a scene for the investigators. I don't think Chase was doing this, but if you saw the picture, you think, my God, that's horrible.
You've got mail.
What was that?
Whoa, that was creepy.
Well, Mike, you have something to say?
Yeah, I was going to ask, was he employed? Where did he work? And this guy. And again, here's another guy. If he didn't work, how did he afford an apartment?
Oh, his dad helped him.
Oh.
Yeah, listen, for folks to deal with this, because my brother wasn't violent, but it was a nightmarish situation for the families. It always is. Because you're living with a time bomb. You don't know. And so Chase lived with them, but they wanted to get Chase his own apartment. But, he was so mentally ill. Not only did his family help him, but I think he got on the government. I think he got government assistance too. So he wasn't living lavishly, but whatever he couldn't get through any kind of assistance, which he did get assistance, his father would help him, as, dads do. And so that's how he lived. So he had held a job some, but, he too reached a point where he just couldn't do it. Right? He was too dirty. He was too unkempt. He just couldn't do it. His psychosis was just out of control. Periodically.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Periodically, he got better at one point through this very heavy medication the doctors were giving him, to where he could at least maneuver through life. And this is another strange aspect of his mother. His mother didn't like him being a little bit of a zombie, even though he was calm. And she said, you should go off your medications. And he did. Can you imagine that? She's got a son sicker than anything, and she says, go off your medications. And he did. So,
goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Sullivan, what, off the top of my head, I used to know, what were the occupations of his mother and father? Do you know that off the top of your head? Because there was something weird about it to me.
I think his father had a good job. I can't remember. They had some financial problems early in their marriage and actually lost the house. But his dad stabilized. I can't remember who. It's in the book. I can't remember. But he was okay financially. He didn't have any money troubles later. He did fine. Now I think Chase's mother, for most of her life, was just a housewife. She may have worked at one time, but I don't think she had to work. So, unless I'm forgetting something, I don't think she did. But the dad had some job that was decent, and
Okay.
Like I say, he was more normal.
The other thing that I was wondering, because his story is it's strange. It's almost like that weird kid that you always hear that was hiding in the basement somewhere just ran amok, you know? It has that weird, like, story time vibe about it.
Yeah.
With his story, it starts out with him sort of trying to test to see what it feels like to kill. So he does a drive-by shooting, but then he does these very elaborate, extremely horrifying home invasions. I was wondering, you said that he had a girlfriend, correct?
Yes.
At one point, did he have any other social friends? Because it almost seems like a gang initiation type thing to me. That's just something I get a vibe from. I know Sacramento isn't as notable as, say, like San Diego or Los Angeles and places like that, but a mentally ill person is the perfect type of person to use to, like, set parameters and create these, like, terrible situations. With his thing, man, there's another thing tying back Ted Bundy. The smell that witnesses, they always seem to smell terrible, smells of sulfur, things like that. I was wondering if you had any comment on that as well. And I'll go on you, brother.
Here's my opinion. Again, I don't talk about these things in anything that I write. It's a separate world, okay?
Okay.
But there were a couple supernatural things with Theodore Bundy which are flat out demonic, okay? And I think there were spirits in Bundy, demonic spirits that you can't see, and that helped empower him. And a couple things that happened that point to something supernatural happening, which you're right about, is when he was in a meeting with some people, and they came and informed somebody there that the body of Kim Leach had been found. And they said when that happened, and this was witnessed by 5 or 6 people, his body changed, and it's like his muscle tone changed, and there was an odd smell that was emanating from him. And it was very strange. But now something even stranger happened, really, when Stephen Michaud, who wrote The Only Living Witness along with Hugh Ainsworth, they said that Michaud said that Bundy at one point was taking the recorder and talking into it about a particular murder, and it's almost like he went into a trance. But now here's something that's very interesting. Michaud said, I know this is going to sound weird, but a welt appeared on his cheek. It came and went from one end to the other on his cheek out of nowhere, and it stayed there for a while, and then it went away. And just these little odd things that can happen. So, there are some times when you'll see these killers. Very often these killers say this, and this is kind of this isn't unique to one or two. A number of them said this. Some of these guys say that when they're committing the murder, it's almost like they are standing inside themselves, but they're kind of to the back of themselves a little bit. And they almost feel like somebody else is doing it. They almost feel like they're participating, but they're not so much doing it, but they're just kind of there. I think that has to do with what's going on inside them. And a lot of people would say this is just chemical stuff, and they don't believe in anything.
No. My audience knows what you're talking about. Now, one more thing is that during some of his confessions, the tape recorder would malfunction as well.
Ted Bundy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I know that sometimes Bundy would instruct the detectives to turn off the tape because he wanted to talk off the tape, and they would, start writing the stuff down, and then that was later entered into evidence. But that kind of the turning off the tape, I know, backfired on them in Florida because the judge would not allow any of those things in because he said you'd have to have the things running all the time because we don't want to think that you're kind of like screwing with it and, deleting stuff and whatever. So they disallowed the tapes because of that. And there was also a couple problems with a couple of the recorders occasionally, which that should never be when you have a suspect such as Theodore Bundy. and you're trying to get some confessions out of them. But the stuff that these guys wrote down when Bundy said turn it off, that stuff was entered into evidence anyway, and everybody believed. Everybody believes it. Yeah.
Okay, got to take a break. We're here with Kevin Sullivan, Josh Brookshire, Mike Gray, and Christian Wallace. We're on cjmarsradio.com, and then we'll be right back after this little 5-minute break with more about Ted Bundy and Richard Chase, the vampire from Sacramento. Fascinating stuff. Great guest, man. And Kevin, don't hold back, man. You got stuff to talk about like that, but man.
Just call me Murder Bag, Mr. Murder Bag, and we'll do it.
We're all tuned into what you're talking about, so keep going. All right, guys, we're going to take a break. We'll be back after 5 minutes. CJ, got the break going? Okay, great. We'll be right back.
If you're looking for essential oils, stop by and check out Essentially Tammy on Facebook. She is Young Living Essential Oils Independent Distributor. These 100% therapeutic-grade oils help support the body's natural functions. You can click on her website, posted on Essentially Tammy, that's T-A-M-I, to see the current deals and check out the benefits of oils such as frankincense, joy, valor, lemon, thieves, panaway, and many more. Email Jocotami, that's Jocatami, @yahoo.com, or call 352-239-8546. That's 352-239-8546. Hey, don't forget good old Amanda at Pacific West Bamboo. Pacific West Bamboo, 503-839-8126. You can reach her at demroots@oppermail.com. Pacific West Bamboo, your number one source for timber, construction, and craft-grade bamboo poles, plants, products, and more. They specialize in eco-friendly reclaimed wood products for the home and garden. They're located in Portland, Oregon, servicing the Northwest for over 10 years. They can be reached at 503-839-8126. That's 503-839-8126. Her Facebook page is Pacific West Bamboo. They can and do ship nationwide, and they're currently getting a new line of bamboo flooring, veneers, and laminates made from Guadawa bamboo, one of the world's strongest bamboos, grown and produced and manufactured in Central America using only economically and environmentally friendly practices and standards. Good old Mike Gray at infinityhomeplans.com. Check out Infinity Home Plans and Design Services, your resource for 3D and 2D draftsman services. They offer a multitude of products, including stock home plans, 2D digital drawings, 3D models, renderings, and more. That's infinityhomeplans.com. Hey, don't forget emailrevealer.com. That's my website, emailrevealer.com. And we offer all different kinds of services. Current place of employment locate. Let's say you're trying to locate where your ex-husband or your ex-wife is working so you can collect on child support. You contact us, we can locate their place of employment for you and help you collect on that child support. Let's say you think that your husband or your wife is cheating on you. Give us their email address and we can trace it back to online dating websites and dating services. So we have a multitude of services on emailrevealer.com. Hey, don't forget the New World Mexican Women. Okay, and just Google New World Mexican Women. You can find their book where they first describe their love letters to their men and their sons and their uncles and their brothers who have traveled from South America to North America to work as migrant workers. But the women down in this town there in Guerrero, Mexico, they want their men to come back. So they've written these beautiful love letters, and they've put them all in this beautiful coffee table book. First, the letters are written in Spanish, handwritten. You can see pictures of the people writing the books. And then it comes on after that, and it's typewritten in English. And then also, too, the second half of the book is teaching you how to make authentic Mexican jewelry from these New World Mexican women. You can find their book on Lulu.com. It's only $19, or you can download the digital edition for free. That's New World Mexican Women, And it's a two-part book where first part is the love letters, and the second part is the making the handmade jewelry, the authentic Mexican jewelry. But you can also contact them too as well if you want to get a deal on wholesale jewelry from Mexico from these women.
Okay, we are back. I am your host, private investigator, Ed Opperman, and this is the Opperman Report After Show. And we have to mute our mics. CJ, poor CJ Mars, Cindy Jean-Pierre, she's under the weather tonight, man. She has a bad cold. I was talking to her early today, man. She sounds really, really bad. So thank you so much, CJ, for staying with us late. You know, I know everybody wants to get to bed. Yeah. And we are here tonight with Kevin M. Sullivan, the author of
Murder Bag.
Murder Bag. Murder Bag Sullivan, yeah. The Ted Bundy book and the Chris,
Richard Chase.
Richard Chase. Oh my God.
Yeah, okay. The Bundy Murders, A Comprehensive History, and Vampire, the Richard Chase Murders.
Thank you, Kevin, because I had to
That's all right.
No, I had to close down that window where all my notes are. But
there you go. No, that's no problem.
Okay, great. We have Josh Brookshire with us and Mike Ray and also Christian Wallace. And we were just talking about some stuff about how, you believe there's demonic influences that come over these, serial killers, right? And there is that connection to the blood too.
Yeah, the world of the demonic is very real.
Yeah.
And it's constant. There's no time element. These things that are here traversing the earth, they just are what they are, and they'll have their day. They'll have their day of judgment, but it's not now. And they can't make anybody do anything, but they look for influence. And I was ordained 30 years ago. I didn't come into a lot of elements of the supernatural right away from the ministry. The only thing I knew when I was 19, when I was born again, I knew Jesus was real. I didn't grow up in a church. Nobody was talking to me about Jesus. I found out when I was 19 that he was real. I was reading a book that said Jesus was real, making himself real to people. I was always the kind of person, you got to show me. I got to see it. I got to have some kind of proof. So I took a chance. I called out to him. I asked him if he was real. If he was real, I wanted to be saved, I wanted to be born again. I said, he already knew I believed in God. Boom. There was this internal change, immediate. Weight lifted off me, fire on the inside of me. And the only thing I knew, I never read the New Testament and couldn't told you anything about it. The only thing I knew is he was real. Without a doubt, I knew it. Well, what I didn't know is that I was born again of the Spirit. I had a spirit inside, separated from God. He came to put the Spirit. This is all the theology of what Christianity really is. Well, later I would learn about this. And then I didn't know anything about the demonic, didn't know anything about any of that. But as I went into the ministry and as I encountered situations and saw things and began learning of this, I started to see a lot. And are you guys still there?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, it glitched for a second. Anyway, go ahead. So I was just saying that the world of the supernatural is very real to me. I've had a lot of experience with it. I've seen things, so But yes, I do think they're involved. The world of the demonic is involved with these horrible crimes.
Yeah, I got you. Hey, somebody, we're getting a lot of feedback from somebody. Is that you, CJ? Can you mute up? Okay. Okay, I know. I'm knocking everybody off because I'm trying to figure out who's picking that up. It might be you, Kevin. Okay. I hear you, man. Okay. There definitely is and also too, Is
Did
it?
the other two guys go? It looks
Yeah.
like their pictures disappeared.
Yeah, no, yeah, there was some kind of feedback going on. I was trying to figure out who it was.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But let me ask you a question now, because there's some kind of power that this demonic, this evil side gets from blood sacrifice and from blood in general, right? What do you get from that?
I don't look a lot at the world of the demonic. The thing that I have learned is that they will use anything to influence, they're looking to tear down God.
Yeah.
They're looking to keep people from God. Now, if somebody believes that blood will play a part in it, they'll play into that. If they believe something else is to be gained in another area, they'll play to that. They're very opportunistic. These spirits, they don't sell cars. They're not engineers. They don't have to break for lunch. They just exist, and they've had thousands of years to deceive people.
Right.
And so this is this thing, and of course you can't read the New Testament. Like I say, you're born again. You understand this stuff. This world of the demonic is very real. God's world is very real. The angels are out there as well. But that portion of the spiritual realm that comes from darkness, their influence can go into many areas to get people to believe things that are opposite from God and opposite of what he has said in his word. And it's all done to keep them from either being saved or from progressing in him. And so it's a thing that people need to be aware of, but sadly many Christians are not. I mean, they may acquiesce to this being real, but they don't understand the influence, the powers that be behind the scenes that influence things, within the world. But as far as the blood sacrifice, I guess Satanists, they do things and they like to do their thing, and it's opposite of God and all that stuff. And I don't know what they do with blood there, and if you know some avenues where you think they're the demonic that might be working in the area of this kind of blood sacrifice, I would like to hear it, because I don't really know of anything in that area.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's all kinds of stuff. I can tell you. We can go on for days. Because I've done a lot of stuff to expose, like Michael Aquino and the West Memphis 3 and all that stuff like that. So I know that I'm on the radar of a lot of these people.
Okay.
And I know that there's an ability that they have through blood sacrifice to get people to believe their lies, and also to get people to lie for them, and I've experienced that. Yeah, so there's that whole situation there. Yeah.
What do you think about that West Memphis 3? Do you think those guys that were recently released, do you think they're innocent?
Oh no, I know for a fact that they're guilty. I'm very involved in that case.
Yeah, I always felt like they were, from what I learned years ago.
Yeah.
But then he's been released, and I couldn't really understand it. I don't know.
Well, what happened is that the people like Johnny Depp and the guy from the Hobbit, who put out those films, The Hobbit, and Marilyn Manson, and people from the Process Church of the Final Judgment have put up millions and millions of dollars for their defense fund, and basically bought their way out of prison.
Oh, okay, that's weird. I mean, I don't what points to their innocence? I mean, what did they use to kind of foster their argument?
No, nothing points to their innocence. They didn't get out. They got out of prison by pleading guilty. Okay. Oh yeah, they're not. These guys are guilty. They pled guilty. They were found guilty by a trial, but they were let out of prison because this little town in Arkansas could not keep mounting. It's a little tiny town. My car broke down in that town in Arkansas, driving across country. Okay, and
you said I got to get out of here.
Man. It's a little tiny town, man, and then the DA's office in that town could not mount a a case against this kind of money that was going on in that case. So yeah, we definitely want to do a documentary on that to get the truth out about that.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it is, man. It is, you know. But besides that, I was going to ask you something else. I forget right now at the moment what I was going to say.
Well, while you're thinking of it, I can't. Obviously, you saw that documentary. God knows how long ago it's been now, but on that case, I think it was originally an HBO documentary. I think.
Yeah.
But I remember it was so horrific because it showed their little bodies, their little nude bodies, along the, you know, like in the creek, not in the water, but like on the sides of it.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember seeing, and you know, I don't know it was one of the dads, I guess, of the murdered kids. I remember he was shooting a gun and talking to the reporters, and you know, just out target shooting one day, and you know, you could tell he was having a lot of issues because the boy was dead.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to these family members? I mean, you know, what? I mean, they must be horrified that these people got out.
Well, you want to know what? That guy you're talking about, Mark Byers, he now supports the three killers, and says yes, and he publicly says he does not believe that they were the killers.
He changed his mind.
Well, what we know is that he was hard up for money, you know, and he needed money. There was a ton of money dropped on this case, man. You know, they had billboards up saying, "Listen, we'll pay for information. Anybody has information, to point your finger at somebody else away from these three murderers." You know, but there's no doubt in my mind these guys are guilty.
See, I haven't kept up with it. I never. The only thing I came away from that documentary, and I think there was a subsequent one. I just felt like these kids were guilty.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to say that they weren't, but I just always have had that feeling. And so when I hear about he's got a book out, I wouldn't read it. I just, it just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And so I don't know. They could be innocent. They could be. I don't know. I've always felt like they were.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm just kind of surprised that if they had enough evidence against them, what are they doing? What were they originally sentenced to anyway?
One guy got the death penalty. The main guy, who was the most into the witchcraft and the occult and stuff like that, Damien.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then one guy who started the whole case off. He's confessed like 7 times. You know.
Oh,
he confessed in front of his lawyers with his hand on the Bible. He confessed over and over and over again. This guy. And you look at his face. He looks guilty. You know. He feels guilty. You know. You can see he's. You know.
Yep.
So, but an interesting thing, because you talk about those little naked dead boys on the side of that creek.
Yeah.
One of the main supporters of these confessed child killers, who started up the fund to support the West Memphis Three and their defense fund, he said, "As soon as I saw this movie with those 3 little dead boys, I knew this was my kind of movie." And we looked him up, and I've been investigating this case back since the 90s. I've been involved in that case, okay? And we looked up this guy's history and his lifestyle, and we caught him on altpedophilia.com. And and when he's talking, hey, where's the picture of the little, where's the picture of the little boys? You know, we found this guy, man. That's his fascination. That's his interest. He's into little dead boys being murdered and mutilated and stuff like that. And, and this bunch, man, forget it, man, you know, and, but again, that's a bunch, you know, that, they got away with it, you know, and,
that's a shame. That's a shame. I mean, if they're guilty and they're out, that is a shame. Yeah, that's a shame. Well, yeah, I just remember it was a very disturbing documentary to watch. And, just several kids and, that's close to, that's not too far from Memphis, is it?
No, it's West Memphis, Arkansas. It's in Arkansas, right by Memphis.
In Arkansas. Yeah, so it butts up to.
Right by the border, yeah, right. And that's what happened. Because we were in Memphis, there was a snowstorm, and we were driving through West Memphis, and our car spun out in the snow there.
There you go.
Yeah.
You said not here.
Oh no, you know what? Yeah, but we wound up stranded in that little town there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So listen, we're down to the last 10 minutes, my friend.
Okay.
So what do you want to leave us with here tonight?
Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
The subject of, if you just take Ted Bundy alone, it's such a vast subject that anytime that I speak on it, it's almost like just touching on it, and you try to touch on the most interesting things, and the Chase case is kind of the same way, but it's astounding, these true crime stories, and I think I've always felt like the thing that fascinates people with this is because they are so unusual and out of the ordinary. They're almost otherworldly, the people that can go out and commit these acts. And I also think there's a redemptive aspect to writing about it, because when I'm writing about any story, I look for those things within the case where people can learn from. I look for unlocked homes, unsecured car doors, decisions that are made, what could the victim have done to maybe keep from becoming a victim? And I've actually heard back from people that have told me, the way you presented things has caused me to think about how I conduct my, everyday life. Because most people who aren't into this, who don't study it and don't write about it and aren't familiar with that world, and their worlds are very normal. I mean, they don't think very much about evil lurking nearby or something going horribly wrong. And for most people, it's not going to go wrong. But there are things we can do in society to better our protection and the protection of our loved ones. I remember hearing of a case once where, when people, they do the best they can, but they allowed their kid to play out in their front yard while they watched them from the big bay window, in the living room, because they thought, well, obviously, if the adults are in here and we can watch our kid, nobody's going to stop and grab the kid. They're safe because we can see what's going on. And yet somebody did stop and take that child. That child was never seen again. I always tell parents they need to watch their children. They need to be careful in life and just be aware. And that's one of the main things I do in my writing, is I write in such a way that it becomes very clear, where things can go wrong and how you can keep things from going wrong. So I think true crime can have a very redemptive side to it to teach us. The more we know about that dark and abysmal world of murder and predators, the more we know about that, the safer we're going to be. Cops know this. Cops will tell you, they say, we look at the world one way and civilians look at the world another way. And when you begin to look at the world and the world's a beautiful place, but when you begin to understand the dangers that are out there, you can compensate for those dangers and protect yourself and your family members. And, even though I'm a minister, I have a concealed carry license, I carry a gun. And, just in case anything were ever to go wrong with me or my wife and out somewhere, or somebody else, that you have at least a chance to stop evil or the vessels of evil. But if you're not thinking that way, you can't do anything to protect yourself. But there's a lot we can do in life to protect ourselves from predators. And even predators will come out and say, I heard a guy say once that, he was in prison. He said, he might have been on death row. He said, tell your children if they're ever grabbed to just scream and fight.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. Scream and fight, because we don't like that. And it's the ones that submit to us that are the easiest to carry away. So, these are important things. And I just can't stress enough how people need to. Did you ever see that thing in Florida where they got that girl? I don't know if she was 12, 13, 14. she was cutting through on a Sunday.
Yeah, the car wash, right?
The car wash.
Yeah.
Yes, and that guy got her and murdered her. Well, I don't know what was going on at her home, but I thought, gee, I wish her mother or father or somebody would have given her a ride to this kid's house. Most young girls that went to their friend's house that day made the trip fine. So these things are they're kind of rare, but for the ones that happens to, it's all consuming. And so while your kids are young, you need to not just teach them about these things, but do everything you can to protect them. And like I say, the predators will tell you that. This guy said, we always look for the isolated ones. It's almost like when a herd is traveling along and one strays too far away. That's the one that's going to get picked off. And that's how they look at this stuff. So, so there's a way to look at true crime. It's not just delving into what was, but I like to delve into it with an eye of how to prevent things in the future.
It's so true. There is evil out there, and as the head of our homes, we need to pray over our children or our families and stuff like that. And prayer is so important, on a daily basis, and we can't, darkness cannot overcome the light in any way. You turn on a light, the darkness has to flee. So, we win. We win as long as we're
not complacent.
Yeah, right.
Pray. Teach our children. Raise our children up in the way that they should go. Pray over them. Ask God to bless them. Bind the devil. Loose angels. Whatever you want. Just have a mindset that this stuff is very real. And we do win. And we can walk in victory in the Lord. So,
right. And when we're exposing evil like we do on this show, the listeners out there, we need your prayer. We need your support. We need your help, because this isn't an easy road, man. It really is not. We're up against some really, organized, people that are out there constantly, targeting us all day long. So we do need your prayers and your support, and we do appreciate it, and that's for sure. So Kevin Murderbag Sullivan, my man.
Daddy-o.
I tell you, the best thing about the show is, you get to meet people, and you get to really like them, and make friends and stuff, and it's really cool.
Well, I consider us pals now, Ed. I consider us friends. So
I
like that.
So me too, and this has been so great, the show doing this. We're coming up on a year.
Great.
Yeah.
It's a great show. I'll have to be, now that I know you exist, I know you exist because I'm on your show.
Yeah.
But I will be listening. And, it's great. And anytime you want to have me back on, just let me know.
No, we definitely will have you back. So Kevin M. Sullivan, once again, the name of your books?
The Bundy Murders, The Comprehensive History, and, Vampire, The Richard Chase Murders, which has just been republished by Wild Blue Press. I am actually writing I've got a couple of publishers that publish my books, but I am an author now in Wild Blue Press, so I'll have a lot of stuff coming out through them. And the reprint of Vampire, the Richard Chase Murders, was the first book, with them. So anyway, so that's it.
WildBluePress.com, right?
Yep.
Kevin, thank you so much. Good night. Okay, I'll talk to you in the future.
All right, thanks, Sid. We'll see you later, man.
Thank you, brother.
Bye.
Okay, guys, I want to thank everybody out there listening to the show tonight. Next week, the plan is to have on the author of Season in the Witch. And then we got a bunch of shows coming up. We have Katherine McDonald coming on to talk about the Jeffrey McDonald murder. We have Dave McGowan's coming back. We're going to talk about the moon landing hoax. Did we really land on the moon? Did we travel to the moon and come back or not? We're going to get into all of that. We got one more show coming up. I forget what it is at the moment. What is that last one? We have one more big one. Franklin cover-up. We're going to be doing a show about the Franklin cover-up, the child molestation case that went on at the Boys Town adoption agency down there in Nebraska and all that. We had on Jim Rothstein And he was involved in that case, and John DeCamp and all those guys. So we'll be doing that this next month. We have the whole next month booked up, and we're looking forward to that. So thank you all very much. Hey, don't forget, you know my situation. You go to my GoFundMe, Opperman, which is Help Save My Family, /Opperman. You know, we really need your help. We need your prayers. We're out here doing this every week. We're trying to get information out to you. And me and my family, my daughter, we're under attack, and we need your prayers and your support, your financial support, to keep us going here. You can find the link. It's on every, the bottom of every, show announcement on the Opperman Report blog. And we just launched the Opperman Report website. You know, so things are growing. We're moving forward. We appreciate your love and your prayer and your support, and all your messages and emails we get during the week, and your support on Facebook and stuff like that. And keep an eye on what's going on our Opperman Report YouTube channel, because a lot of activity going on there as well. So I love you all, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, Cindy Jean-Pierre, for supporting us tonight and chipping in and producing for us, and all the hard work you do even when you're sick. I know you're sick tonight, and we're praying for you as well. So good night all, and thank you, and we'll see you next week.